Howdys and salutations, y'all! Sorry for getting a bit of a late start today, had some other stuff come up, but we are here now at just shy of, well, an hour late. Sorry about that again. Although I suspect most people might just be watching this on the VODs, in which case, hey, I'm here right on time, no need to question why the stream is so short. Um, we will be getting a little bit of obviously a later start, so a little bit of a shorter stream. I had some things planned, but I may have to put those off until next time, but that's a-okay. This means you'll need to watch the next video if you're on the VODs, or for anyone who happens to be here, and I am getting a better idea of how to actually see that in chat. Awesome news, of course. I've discovered what the 4 default users here are, and that they're not actually watching, they're just part of this other thing I use. So, awesome. No imaginary followers, no bots of anything of that nature. Cool. Do need to figure out how to clear that out, though. Kind of odd how it works. Anyway, yes, so getting that sorted out, so I will now actually be able to tell when you're in chat. I know that's seems like a basic thing, but that should be an improvement. Figuring out the docs and all that jazz, getting my docs in a row. Anywho, yes, so we're getting off to a late start, so I figured that we'd do just a quick little doodle. I ran across some old drawings, and it made me want to do this one again. Old being a relative term. And then I've got another thing I want to talk a little bit about shape language, which is something that I will admit I don't fully understand, but I sort of get the looser outlines of, and I think it'd be fun to dig into. Awesome! My phone is reminding me that I need to exercise. I don't disagree, but now is not the most helpful time to say that. Thank you, though. Okay, so first off, just a quick warm-up. I've got a little reference up just of a screenshot from the game, but I figured we'd do a little doodle of Ronnie the Witch from Elden Ring. It's a fun character. Pardon the dreadful pen handwriting. I'm sure that will get better with time. If it doesn't, then I'll actually put some effort into practicing, but until then, it's not really my top priority. So, Ronnie's got some fun things going on. In terms of character design, for starters, she's blue, which is not typically where we'd begin, but I think it's as good a place as any. More importantly, though, she actually does have some good shape language, which I was on the phone with a friend just the other day and reminded me of, like, oh yeah, Ronnie's a great example for this. So, not to spoil Ronnie's questline, and I won't too much, but I'm going to go ahead and get started on the drawing. Again, we've done a lot of the posing, but I am also going from a ref, so I'm just sort of going to try to capture the gesture pose in here best as I can. But it's really a fairly stagnant pose. That's kind of her... I don't know if it's her goal. It's the goal of the developers when drawing her. Is that this initial pose is not necessarily threatening, but there are signs that she's not necessarily... Oh, that's still not the right thing. There we go. Boop. Ah, I get it. If I hold it down and then draw, then it's a temporary switch. If I just press it, then it's that. And then I can't get back easily. Okay, cool. Improving with the tools. Okay, but she's sort of got like a sitting position, so... I mean, the hips and the waist are basically in line, and the like waist is all going to be obscured by legs, and also robes in this case. So we'll just kind of get this going, and then she's actually kind of got dangling legs, although it's not the easiest thing in the world to see. Kind of do it like that. She has got a chair. Fun fact, she does sit on books in said chair. She's not actually that tall. That's a-okay. We're not here to judge height, especially not... The more you learn about her, the more you realize that that's not really her fault anyway. Not that height usually is someone's fault, or that being short is even bad. Just kind of a charming little detail that you realize she's sitting like a foot and a half above the chair. Okay. So we've got the basic sort of form. Her arms just kind of land in her lap like this. Well, I guess it's more of... Sure, they have to go out like this. They're mostly obscured by the cloak. And that'll probably be enough for just this initial little alignment. Again, I'm just doing quick little doodles here. We'll zoop that one a little bit away. Oops, and there goes the title. Oh well. Okay. So Ronnie may have a very like stoic kind of square sturdy pose here, which is generally, like they talk about shape language, you can communicate a lot about a character by not just partly the big shapes in their form, like you've got a witch's hat, which is very triangular, versus if you had like a kind of a calmer round hat. I mean, obviously context will depend. A bowler hat versus a fedora type thing are going to be different, and a baseball cap different from all the rest of those. So you know, attire tells a lot of the story. But if you've got a character and you don't have any other background on them, and you're trying to do some character design, shapes can be an advantage. Triangles tend to be a little more ominous and dangerous, and cool and quick and sleek. Squarish forms tend to be more stoic and sturdy, and circles are something I want to say excited. Um, I always forget circles. I want to maybe bouncy and cute. I don't know. Circles are circles. They're very well rounded. Okay, fine. I'll leave. Just kidding. Not that easy to get rid of me. Okay, so let's see. I'm just gonna start sort of on inner clothing and work my way out. I know some of this is gonna be obscured, but that is okay. This Ronnie's got kind of like a little waistband thing, and because we're doing this small, probably zoom in, you know, a little bit more than I've got going so far. Um, but even so, this isn't like a giant drawing. I'm not trying to get a huge amount of detail. Woo, pixels, awesome. Okay, so we'll just keep like some sort of loose bit there. And then we've got this kind of, I don't know, is this a blouse? Is this like an undershirt? A little bit archaic, not that old, but like a little, you can sort of tell. Like the wrinkles all, whoops, getting a little crazy there. Wrinkles kind of tucking in at the waistband. And ending at this sort of old collar. But we aren't going to see too much of that because she's got this big old cloak that actually ends up defining most of that silhouette up there. I'm going to deal with the legs first, which again is sort of, you know, I don't know if it's a robe or if it's like those, it almost looks like those like baggy pants that when you're standing straight together, you know, like these ones where it looks like it's kind of just like a dress or skirt or whatever when you're together, but then when you like spread your legs out a little bit, it's like, haha, secret pants. Okay, we'll get rid of the pants. But it kind of looks like she's actually wearing those, which is my new headcanon, and no one can convince me otherwise, because that cracks me the heck up. Okay, so we kind of want, gone a little further out. I've exaggerated the pose a little bit. I'm okay with that. That's kind of fun. Adds a little bit of character. Not that Runny needs any more character development. She's already one of the most, I'm not just written characters in any of these Souls-like games. Usually they don't bother. Okay, so we sort of got, I guess it's kind of flaring. Yeah, there we go, flaring out like that. Lots of wrinkles coming through. Wish I could get the line weight down a little better on this. I really love some thinner lines coming down. Yeah, okay. There we go. Oop. Just want to get rid of that one. There we go. We got kind of wrinkles. I had to do a talk on fabric sometime. There's a lot of tutorials that have explained it better than I'm going to be able to, but I do enjoy drawing fabric. Nope. All needs to go. We sort of got this tension point on the knee, so I kind of want to bring all of it. I guess it's probably going to be more forward on the knee, really. More like here. I kind of want all of these strands to, rather than just the random lines that I sort of started with, let's actually try to get some real lines going in here. They're all aimed towards it a little bit. It'll do. Sort of the same deal is going to go for a lot of these. Sort of pulling out away from it. Would help if they actually were pointed at it. Ah, no, I've gone and hit the eraser again. Whoops. There we go. It's maybe a little exaggerated, but it's fine. And we got this one sort of coming out. And this stuff's going to dangle a little bit, but because, again, in my head they're the dangly pants, I'm not going to make it dangle too much. Ah! There we go. The sort of cut off that. Gonna go and erase the whole darn drawing at this rate. That's fine. Okay. We'll kind of get like a, I don't know, a shoe dangling here or something. Other one more obscured. We'll get back to that. I'm gonna add a little more flowing fabric coming off here. Not too much more. Give that a little bit of a curve. Okay. That looks maybe a little too cut off. Maybe it needs to sort of like, no. like this, and then like we cut this one off a little bit. Ah, why am I in eraser still? Ah, whatever. There we go. That one sort of comes up, but it doesn't fully cut off the sort of wild wrinkle. Problem is it's too parallel to the shoe, so it ends up looking like another foot. I need to just get rid of this one and try a different angle. A little more flare out if we're gonna do it like that. Okay, yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah. I'm gone and overthinking this just quick doodle, as always. If I ever do, when I do proper gesture, we will actually, you know, go quickly on it. But for these little things, I always just like end up adding a little more detail than I need to, and it's kind of fun. Speaking of more detail, I shouldn't have started with this piece yet, especially because that's not even what it ends up looking like. It's gonna axe the, oh man. The weakness of the vector tool is grids like this because it just goes to the next intersection, at least with the default settings. And it's easier to just deal with it than it is to go and adjust the settings on the fly, so maybe someday it won't be. There we go. So we sort of got the edge of this cloak. And it got like a fuzzy edge around that kind of flares out here. Comes back in. I really enjoy this sort of, because I'm not going and doing like a full like fuzz texture. I don't want to have to mess with all that. But you can get a lot of it with just kind of a wispy edge like this. And the other side of this, because this really should be angling a little more at this point. I've gone and bungled the curvature. Ah, whatever. Easy fix. Assuming I don't delete the one line I actually kind of like. Possible I'm coming to rely on this vector eraser a little too much for my own good. Probably ought to work on that. Yeah, it's better there. Okay. And there's this other side of it that, again, sort of just going to cut off a lot of what we were seeing here. It just continues down. And not quite that far. And again, we've got this one kind of parallel to it. Got this neat little border on it. And we'll add a little more detail here in a moment. We can toss these because they're now hidden behind it. Toss these ones. Okay. Got the border. And then we've got, again, more of the furry fabric coming over here. And I'm looking more like fire when I get it quite that crazy. Add a few points in there. Don't want them to look too neat and tidy or it'll end up looking fabricated, so to speak. Okay. And then we're going to actually get the face position in here a little better relative to the other pieces. Still looking downward slightly. Like I said, she's propped up on books and such, so actually above the player character. Like, doop. Neep, 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 neep. Person. Anyway. Normal sized human head with a normal human face. There we go. There, a typical Elden Ring player. Very happy, very cheery. Definitely not going around causing chaos. Nobody here's picking the Frenzied Flame ending, right? Right. Well, that's neither here nor there. If you picked that, then you've already probably dealt with the consequences of your actions. So, fresh game. Would help if I actually kept that centered, perhaps. Alright, and then we can sort of add some of the crisscross bandage look to it. Got a few parallel ones. And same deal on this one. Yeah, see, taking a little more time to actually make these look good. Pays off. There we go. Okay, so we've got Ronnie here, and then the big thing we've got up here that's actually defining the shape is Ronnie's giant, like, witch's hat it's got going on. This really needs to sort of flow out a little more. Easy enough to add with that. Previous lines just become more layers of the various furs. You know, in hindsight, her wearing that is actually kind of ominous foreshadowing. But that's fine. So I got this point towards the front, and then it comes down. And the actual like body of the hat, of course, is still. So as with everything in Elden Ring, there's danger around every corner, and you shouldn't trust anything you immediately meet. That doesn't mean that everyone is untrustworthy, and it doesn't mean that there's a morally or any ending that's not at least somewhat morally ambiguous, to say the least. Although a lot of people really like Ronnie's, and I assume that's not just because they think that she looks cool. Although I'm sure that's part of it. Um, got kind of a sorting hat, sort of bends and folds in here. These are too similar and parallel to each other. N, please. Thank you. There we go. Kind of need these to be distinctly different. This one and this one below it were looking a little too similar. And there's like a few counter wrinkles over here. Okay, and we've got kind of a lovely little kind of metally work curly cues over here, but again, I'm not going to worry too much about getting really nice details in right now. Do a little bit of the silver hair. Nose looking down. The eye. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't question it. And the fact that this appears to have turned into a goatee of sorts. Let's fix that. Okay. Now really, what I'm realizing is that the brim of the hat needs to come down a little lower where it goes up, because it actually blocks a lot of the hairline. And end up with just more something like this. Hair going over there. Again, I'm not, you know, if I had the full 2 hours like I'd planned, I'd actually be doing like a proper running drawing. We'd have a go at making this look good. But as is, not too worried about that. Got kind of billowing sleeves. Match this sort of blouse piece. And of course the none too sub. There we go. Got kind of the crossed hands going on. Ah, see, yeah, that's really nice. Crossed hands. But not just two, in case you didn't notice. Ronnie's got a couple extras. This actually ends up sort of becoming another sleeve there. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and hide the sketch layer now. Yeah, again, rough, 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 rough. I have absolutely done better Ronnie drawings than this, but it's kind of a fun little deal. And face silhouettes. They're not too bad when you actually try, but they are pretty bad when you don't. I had to get an opacity sensitive pen. Actually get some shading stuff in here like I do with the pencil. I do miss the pencils for shading. They're nice. I'm sure there's ways to do it well in here. Probably better. But until I figure them out, that's going to be rough. Okay, so we've got kind of a few hat wrinkles. And then there's just like chair. Like armrest down here somewhere. It's a chair. Ignore the books. Yeah, and if I had a little bit more line weight control, gotta figure that out on this. But when I figure it out, I will let y'all know. Till then, we're just going to have to deal with these real rough shading scribbles. Aren't quite consistent in color enough to look good. Oh, with time, maybe they will be. Don't know why there'd be a shadow there. Definitely be one back here, though, along the chair. There we go. That's just, you know, kind of loose and rough around the edges. I find that a lot of drawings really come together with the shading. You can, not that you should hide bad art, like bad proportions and stuff with shading, but you can a little bit. Better to go actually correct it, though, and learn. Now, there we go. Yeah, alas, that one's not quite landing. We will have to figure that one out a little bit later. I need to do a little more research on the tools I actually have at my disposal. That one's still looking a little too confident of a line. There we go. Now it's clearly part of the cloak. A little bit of detail cleanup. It's, you know, is what it is. Quick little Ronnie doodle. Sure. It will do. But the points I want to talk about shape language are that you simultaneously get these sort of, the forms here are really square. Let's see, you get sort of like the seated position. This part's stoic, and actually in the real game, her legs straight down are pretty square too. So that's just solid. That is like a chair with its little feet. In this one, I've added like a little character because I was trying to make it a tiny bit cutesier in my mind when I was gesturing it out. So we've kind of got the legs going at angles here. That adds it, makes it a little more lively. So the posture is very square and stoic and reliable. You want to trust that. But a lot of the other pieces of her design, especially the shapes, you get sharp triangles all over. They're sort of muted by the circles. Like they're rounded off, so it's not immediately as jarring. You get sort of the rounded top of that triangle. You get the big one, of course, is the cloak. You sort of have like this big shape, which again is a little squared off, a little rounded off at the top. But overall, it's still the not quite. It's the shape of danger, so to speak. And again, I'm speaking off of loose memories and stuff. There we go. It's Ronnie. Ta-da! Doop 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 doop. Neep neep. There, see, 30-second Ronnie, easy as that. All right, in hands. There we go. Ronnie. Had to do it to him. Anyway. But that's just a little bit. So what I wanted to do, what the plan was for this stream back when I had more than, 30 minutes left to go, and we'll see if we even get all the way there, was that I wanted to try to do some witches, just witch characters are fun, with a little bit more, like, they're based a little more heavily on the shape language. I want to go all in on that. Why is this on the rotate tool instead of the grab tool that I expect it to be? Okay, I would appreciate if it would cease that. Where did the hand control go? I seek the hand. No, not the move layer tool. As confusing as that was for a long time, I've at least figured out what that's about. Where'd you go? Am I blind? Did I lose on the hand in my mind? Anyway. No, not move layer. Got this, got move is in rotate mode. I would like it to go to hand mode. There we go. Okay. All that just to reshift the canvas a little bit. But it's better to be able to see it, both for y'all and for me. So that's what we're going to do. I'm gonna give it a save. So what I want to do is start out with just some loose. Let's get some purple in here. It's a fun one. It's really loose. We'll even do the pencil for it. I like the mechanical pencil. And I want to get some characters that are real heavy on the shape language. I want the strong and stoic witch. We're going to try to get sort of a square basis for her. And then I want one that's like really cozy and comely and bouncy. Not comely, that's not the right word. We're going to get like snowman vibes. I'm thinking like kind of like a little elderly lady one with like a cane. You could help across the street. Okay, so this isn't exactly what I had in mind, although it is cute. Now let's keep that circle there. Okay. So, I'm going to do a little more zooming back in, even after all that. Let's see what we can do about thinking up some square witch designs. Not Blair Witch, Square Witch. Okay. So, wow, I've said okay so a number of times now. That's not really quite how I wanted that to do. Well, that's what it is, though. So I'm thinking if we want kind of the boxy witch, we want... Let's think of some poses that would work with that. We've sort of got the seated one that we had Ronnie in already. Elbows up, arms crossed, always look like you're trying to do a 90s song. There we go. Sort of got that one. Not really feeling that one, though. Maybe... What about kind of a blacksmithy pose? Someone who... Or glass making, even. Like someone who's, like, working with the kiln. You get kind of, like, big boxy shoulders. Let's go with that. Let's kind of keep it mostly square. Well, and a lot of the shape language comes with clothes, really. Like, human proportions still have some limits unless you're, like, really cartooning it. And I'm not quite there with my skills yet to do them cartoons in a way that looks, you know, good. I mean, I've got sort of the... I can do a cutesy little face like that. But even that's starting to look ominous until you give it, like, some eyes. Give you a baseball cap. I always say that, and I always fail at drawing a baseball cap. There we go. Like I can do like a little bit, but it's not quite what I'm aiming for with this one. Also, back of the head's getting a little thin there. Anyway, so we're trying to get kind of this square, confident stance. And, oh, and unfortunately I'm going to have to stop wherever we're 1 hour mark pretty much, because alas, I do have one of those things called a day job, and those do rather tend to require you to actually get some sleep. Show up to those with 3 hours of sleep, it's just a lot more miserable all around. Meetings are worse when you're tired, but spreadsheets are much worse when you're tired, whereas they can be downright fun if you're not. Something almost rhythmic about filling out a good spreadsheet. When you have all the data you need and you're just sitting there and you can just be like, yes, I can cross-reference this and I can enter it. That is always just the best. It's sort of like, it's like cross-stitch, or like any of those things where you just get into a repeating rhythmic pattern and you can just go at it and it's super soothing. Knitting, that sort of thing. Yeah, I'm comparing Excel to knitting. I stand by that. I guess it doesn't have to be Excel. Okay, so I'm kind of thinking... Right, we got that Smith and apron. That can add a little more of a boxy form because the leather doesn't really bend so much. I'm not really sure. That's not really a hand. It's not really a tab. It's supposed to be a tab that's holding it on. Like you'd have another one on the flip side. And you sort of have like a little bit of a tension point around it, maybe. Belt. So let's just do a belt. There's no reason to do this silliness. And there's also no reason to be doing that level of detail when I'm still figuring out posing and such. Gonna get some actual like boots, not really like not subtle shoes. She's got work to do. There's no messing around with heels or even like Converse or anything. You don't want that when you're here. And let's see. Okay, so yeah, I'm feeling the blacksmith for this one. We'll get kind of a good anvil thing going over here. And if I wanted a sort of, instead of the circly round witch, how the heck do you draw an anvil? Drawing anvils from memory, even though I've only seen one in real life like twice, a bunch of times, but it's been a while. Okay, so you sort of need the horn on the anvil, right? So that's sort of like, that's back there, but it's kind of like on its own level, like further down the back of it. Still need to figure out how I keep X. Oh, I guess, got it, got it. You hold down control. We learn the controls of control. Okay, now we sort of need a big ol' stable stand for this thing. Don't mind the fact that it's, actually do mind the fact that it's at the wrong angle relative to the box it's in. I built the top relative to that box, I'm building the bottom relative to it. That's how we're going to keep this in at least the faintest semblance of proportions. It ain't got much, but I can at least do that. There. Sure, this tip's a little low and looks wonky on the plane, but, oh my word. Straight that way. There we go. Ding, ding, dong, doop-a-doo. Okay. The smithing thing. I'm feeling. It doesn't even need like a. Like, if you want confident, you could do a confident stance, but you don't even really need that with someone like this. I'm trying to get someone who's just been at it for a while. Maybe just got the hammer in one hand, sort of held casually back, so we'd have sort of the shoulder and then like back a. Not back that far. Elbow would normally come to hip height, but since it's leaned back, it's a little higher. We can just have the hammer sort of down here. There we go. That's a hammer, and no one can tell me otherwise. Okay, and I'll add like, I don't want to add much tension on this because I do like the boxy form it gives, but I do want to add like just a little bit of, so that it's got some character and it's not just a completely bland, flatness. It's not a pun on Hunger Games. The Katniss Everdeen was not that flat of a character. Like, there was actually story there. It wasn't necessarily one I enjoyed, but there was story. I can't judge there. So flatness Everdeen, not the best burn. And then PETA sort of, yeah, he got character development, I guess. I don't know why I'm talking about these books. I didn't even enjoy reading them. But that's how it is. Whether you enjoy a book or not, it sticks with you. I mean, I hate Lord of the Flies with a vengeance. I think not just do I contend that it is an unpleasant read, but I contend that it is a poor interpretation of it's a poor example of literature and provides very little merit. Apocalyptic literature that does not propose ways to avoid it is inherently hopeless and inherently worthless, in my opinion. If you're going to alert people to a potential upcoming social problem, I know I'm going on a rant here, but that's what we're doing today. Like post-apocalyptic literature like is fine. Moralizing literature is fine. Like, they have their place. Obviously, you get things like Fahrenheit 451 and 1984. I need to read 1984. I can't say if it's prescient if I haven't read it, but Fahrenheit 451 definitely is ominously so. But the point was that they pointed out, like, here are clear flaws with humanity, and here are things that can be done to avoid them, not to fall into the same patterns and pits and trials and tribulations. And they're sad and they're harsh, don't get me wrong, but there's not, even if there's not a hope in the story, there is a hope for the reader of like, okay, I see what they did wrong, I can do better. But Lord of the Flies just basically contends that human nature is inherently violent and awful. Like, it doesn't provide like, hey, you know, Like here's where they went wrong. Here's ways to be civilized. It just says they tried to be civilized and it blew up in their faces because violence wins. And on the outside world, violence also won and everyone died. And I get that that was sort of the time, but it is like T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland has more hope than that book. And T.S. Eliot's Wasteland is called The Wasteland. Lord of the Flies has so little to offer as far as literature goes. And again, I am happy to have anyone prove me wrong. By all means, if you can point out like, that my interpretation was wrong, and it's very well it could be. I'm not flawless. Um, but like everything it seems to try to contend is so just hopeless and not in a constructive way. It's just hopeless in a wow, people stink, I guess we're screwed kind of way. And that's not worth reading. Because if that's the case, then why bother with anything? But it's not the case. Like if humanity is truly hopeless, then A, we wouldn't have even gotten as far as we have. But also, why are you bothering to write about it? Who are you telling this to? It's like just some nihilistic misery. Um, and like you can be nihilistic and still find joy. You just don't have to be nihilistic and try to preach it to everyone else. Um, and even if you do, like, there's ways to believe in that don't lead you to like oh, I guess we just give up and live in misery because otherwise some crazy kid's gonna break a conch shell and drop a boulder on my head. Spoilers, I guess, not really. I didn't say who did what, or even if both things happen in the books, because I don't think they do. Um, we'll get kind of a pocket thing going. Okay, Sturdy Witch has become awkwardly buff Witch. I'm not really sure how to fix that, so I'm just gonna add a crease to the pants, but like a soft crease. Again, I don't want too harsh of triangular lines. This is clearly calling for something like that. There we go. Steel toe boots. Not that steel toe boots. Steel toe boot. Wow. Steelty boots. Steel toe boats. There we go. Got it out of the system. Now let's say steel toed boots. Aha. Let's see. And I'm feeling like not doing too much on the face because we're getting up there in time a little bit, and I've got another idea I kind of want to draw that came to me. Let's see if okay. First off, if head is here, looking upwards slightly with this curve, then I want hand here wiping sweat. This is not an easy job. Really ought to give long sleeves. If I'm being honest, if you're around one of these kilns, you don't want short sleeves. Am I crazy? This is still so ridiculous. I need to actually do some proportions practice again. This is... Alright. Be long sleeves, but it can still be fairly tight around there. Running out of... There we go. Still kind of a tight spot. A lot of muscles to fit the sleeve around. Yeah, that's not how that fabric would go. No matter. Let's maybe just go a little less detail on the fabric-y accents there. Not all of that, just this bit. There we go. Make it like a little tighter there too. Yeah, this folds at the wrong angle, isn't it? That's why that's looking weird. There we go, there we go. That's looking a little less insane. Okay, and then we just kind of want that. And then I want big ol' stinking goggles. I feel like that's fun. We'll do that. even keep like a kind of boxy nose going in here. Really doesn't need to be that boxy. And kind of a wide jaw. There we go. Short. Let's get one of them, like, what are they called? Like the leather hats, like aviator type hats going on here. Doesn't necessarily make sense for leather working, but it's kind of fun. And it would give good eye protection. Feeling, no, not erase. Kind of feeling jowls. He's been at this a while. Whew. Not double mouth. There we go. What do I get? There, that actually works. Then, of course, we'll obscure most of that with the hand, because I wasn't thinking about that. Alas, such is the way. Here we can sort of scoot it over. There, it still exists. It's fine. Okay. This is looking a little silly, I'll admit, but that's sort of what we were going for. Sort of. This one ain't the hammer and arm. It's not quite as buff. That's what I'm going with, but mostly because I'm ready to be sort of done with this drawing. Sure. There we go. Well, buff witch, we could put like an emblem here or something. We'll give kind of like a... There. There we go. The witch emblem of the seagull. Mine? The pretentious seagull. It's a wild coven, that one. Anyway. The other one I was thinking, because at this point we might as well have a whole group of smithing witches. Let's just scoot that one over. I'm actually gonna just grab this and pop it somewhere else for theoretically later, quite possibly never. No object to transform, you say. But I've selected this. Oh no, I'm on the wrong layer, aren't I? Whoops. This layer. There we go. There we go. I guess I can't do that while I'm here. Well, then we're just going to put that over there, and we're not going to worry about it. I'm actually going to worry slightly about it. Okay, it's out of the way. So I've got kind of a triangular witch design that I want to have a go at. Let's see what we can do. We'll go for... Yeah, let's go for something like this. This darker magenta-y kind of, although it's still pretty light on this. I want the whole character's view to be pointed up sort of along this line, but I want the character to be kind of contrasting it and holding up something. I guess we want the something to be sort of up here. We want the face to be looking at it. Going for some of these sharper lines. We won't get quite that line. Can't get this kind of thing going. Really leaning back. This one's also going to be a confident pose, but a very different sort, more of a maniacal cackle if I can pull it off. Let's see, if I can pull it off, though. And I'm thinking that it's time we have the glass-blowing witch. These are going to be a set of, I guess, forceps or pincers or what have you. Pulling something out of a furnace. And not a washing machine. I mean, not unless you do your laundry very badly. Clean those lint traps. But, yeah, it still looks like a laundry machine. A laundry machine that someone signed. Okay, we'll just sort of leave an ominous glow. There we go, that's something. I will come back in just a moment, and we will see if we can't get this one wrapped up before time's up. Well, actually, who needs a pause? Let's keep going. We got 15 minutes. We're going to get to the end of this. We got 15 minutes. We've gone on as whatever the heck that the Smith Witch is with the monocle, with the I guess the monogol. Haha. And a long rant about Lord of the Flies. Let's just stick it out for the last 15 minutes. Okay, so now that we've got sort of the loose layers there, I'm thinking, let's see if we can't actually get some real shape language with this one. I want sharp, I want chaotic, feeling like almost an Yzma vibe if I can get it. So I'm going to want, let's actually see if we can get, and also kind of like an awkward 3/4 view, which admittedly, my current proportions model, I should mention I am still learning art. Part of the point of this channel is to learn art with me. I've got a little bit more experience with the practical pencil, paper, pen, also sewing calligraphy and such, but when it comes to digital art, I am pretty amateur still. So feel free to backseat the heck out of me if something looks terrible. But the current model I've been using to sort of do proportions here isn't great for 3/4 views. So let me actually think about this one for a half a second. Da 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 da. So if we've got the arms, if we actually want those to be sort of, again, kind of crazy, I want the arms to be pointing up like a little more, so we may have to make the witch shorter, which I'm okay with. But if we want them like that, then we really need to have sort of almost a parallel shoulder kind of thing. And then, yeah, okay, so I'm going to actually just bring these a little closer together. Not sure if we'll need the arms crossed like that. And then I'm going to sort of go across like this. So we'll have the front one here. Well, that will make sense once I actually deal with the arms. I think we're just going to have some overlap. So yeah, fresh start on that. We'll just go for, nope, don't need to select that. Still don't need to select that. Pen tool, please. There we go. Thank you, Clip Studio Paint. You are awesome. When I'm on the right layer, you're awesome. We'll just sort of assume very similar. Okay, there we go. We can sort of get a shoulder like that. That also lets us get the lean back pose if we do kind of the smaller character. Okay, this is coming together. There we go. So there we've got that. We'll kind of have the hips sort of, again, we're kind of getting a 3D shape, so it's going to be pushing back like this, while this one's sort of more like that. That line being the exception. It's kind of twisty. We'll have the one that's going back, but we still want the main one that's confidently forward. I may even, whoa, jeepers. Let's just reset that back to normal. Gotta stop startling myself with tools. We'll even like bring this one like a little more. It'll be more of a straight, still needs to have the counterweight. It has to be believable that it can hold the weight. There we go. There we go. So once we have the head on here, which again is going to be a little lower and looking even more up, so that'll be fun. We'll exaggerate this pose a bit more even. Look, it's always got to be looking at that, though. That's got to be our eye line. And now we've got plausible weight balance with this up here. We've got this down here. We'll have our glass-blowing witch, which I'm feeling mad scientist garb, personally. I don't know about y'all. Feel free to tell me if you want something different, but that's sort of the vibe that I'm going for. Mad scientist witch. So we've still got I'm actually just going to make a fresh layer for that. Now that we've got this nice setup, I don't want to immediately mess it up. So we'll just poof that. Nope, I'm still using that one, I guess. We'll just sink this one down a little bit, and we'll go for this one. When in doubt, add more layers. Can't possibly backfire. Nobody call me on that. It can absolutely backfire. Especially because I'm not labeling them. So at some point, that's going to be an unreadable mess. Let's see if we can't get sort of kind of a lab coat-y thing going. Again, normally I'd want to flare it out super dramatically, but I'm trying to keep sort of the main like triangular pose here going for this sharp ominous, and I don't want to flare it out and make it too wide. I want it to be super sharp if I can. And then we'll have the sort of contrasting triangle here, or really even the double ones there. But the main body triangle I want to try to keep to as much as possible. So we'll sort of have something like this. We'll make it more lab coaty once we get into details and such. Whoops. But this is where we're going to begin. And of course we'll have just like pants underneath. I mean, this is still supposed to be like a metal shop of sorts. We wouldn't want the witches to be in danger. I mean, stinking glass blowing. If you know what you're doing, it's still safe, but you don't want to, you know, if you know what you're doing, you also know enough to take secondary precautions. You know? Like, part of knowing what you're doing is not making bad decisions. To that end, these should probably be more like jeans than flared bell bottoms, but they're fun though. We can have a little artistic liberty. Just gonna do simple shoes for now, because accursedly we are running short on time today. Alas, having a day job. It has its perks, like, you know, being able to make money, and actually being able to talk to people. Jobs are surprisingly good social opportunities, but it also has the downsides if I actually have to go to sleep at a reasonable hour. Dagnabbit. Okay. I kind of want, trying to think what a good lab coat needs a good pocket. I mean, I think all good clothes need good pockets, but I think a good lab coat really does need a good pocket. And I wish I knew. I need to study up a little more on glass blowing. I've only done it once, and I've only retained so much. Definitely a lot of fun, though. If you ever get the opportunity, I do recommend it. Glass blowing, surprisingly awesome. Or maybe not surprisingly. It's pretty awesome. So we've sort of got the collar there. We're going to have kind of a shoulder here. I do want this to be, like, again, to sort of accentuate the triangle form a little bit more, so I don't want to do anything crazy in terms of torso, and a lot of it's going to be obscured by arms anyway. Once again, arms. I'm telling you, one of these streams, I'm just going to do a whole stinking, like, 2 hours of arms. I need the practice so bad. I miss being able to just turn the paper. I guess this is one of those times when I could actually use this tool. Nope, not like that. Doop, 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 doop. Aha! Easy straight lines. Still the wrong angle, but easy. Easy straight lines. There we go. I'm actually going to want that to taper a little bit, so I can maybe, like, scoot that over. Wonder if, you know, I've got to hold and drag. Aha! Okay, I'm starting to like these digital tools. Made that entirely too big, though. And now I need to reset this. Soup. Okay. There we go. I'm liking that angle. I got that. Again, I want the lab coat to really still be continuing all the way up, not over the belt, mind. Wonder what the familiar of a glass blowing witch would be. What would be a good critter for that? If y'all have any suggestions, let me know. Obviously, you don't have to contribute. I ain't here to force to call on anyone in class, but I'm kind of drawing a blank. Because I feel like most animals you don't really want near glass. If this were weaving, we could do something silly like silkworms or something. But this, Okay. I want a big old stinking grin. We're going to keep to a fairly simple face. Again, partly because I want raised glasses. Nope, those just look like lizard eyes. Nope. Okay, reflectionless goggles. That's what we're going with. And you know, I'm actually kind of feeling bald. I like the vibe. I still want a sort of witch's hat of sorts, but it's gonna have to be something that would still work in this situation. Because you want the head covering, like, you know, you're messing with glass, you probably don't need it, but you kind of want it. And let's see, And until I can think of anything else, I'm going to add a few potion vials of sorts. Don't need them all visible here. Yeah, it's not quite the right angle. I'm going to add a little bit of detail around the goggles to give them some depth, and then I'm going to go and have another go at these potion vials. I think we'll just have kind of, well, we don't want dangly bits necessarily, so let's just get like a little bit of leather that can hold them. But I really want the, actually, I want the angle to still be flowing with this triangle that we sort of defined as our original shape. So I'm actually going to make sure that these are kind of falling at this angle as best as I can. That actually kind of works. There we go. Get one more. I don't want to break up the silhouette necessarily. I kind of like it's not the most distinct silhouette in the world. We're not doing like full-on character designs or anything like that. And obviously these arms are just a tad angular. But that's okay for what we're doing. Because the main point is getting this shape across and getting the excitement across about this new creation, as well as probably the danger. Although in this case, I'm thinking that it's just going to be a little pumpkin ornament, because I think that that would be fun. And I also happen to know that those aren't too terrible to do with glass blowing, although this is not the tool you would use. Let's see, we've got kind of a... I get something going like that, we can get some sort of like... Because you kind of sort of see the other sides through it. It'd be well, I guess not all the glasswork's transparent or even translucent. You can get opaque stuff. But I also want like a little bit of this bottom stem eventually being pulled out here. Because originally what you'd want to do with this sort of thing is they've got a neat tool that's basically like a long pole. And I don't remember all of the details, but I know that it's got little openings on this end, and you can basically dip it into a sort of orb of glass and very cautiously blow into the other end, and it can create a bubble inside, and it slowly grows this out. And that's essentially how you can get an ornament shape of sorts. If you want to shape it like this, then you actually just, much the same way you would shape an actual watermelon or pumpkin or some sort, you would make sure you have like a little mold that you could pop it into, and it would have kind of the pumpkin outline inside. So that'd just be in there. And so when you put this orb in it and then you expand out, when you blow it to expand, it'll fill into the pumpkin shape. Then you'll get a pumpkin ornament. So it wouldn't be one that you're pulling out on this long strand like this necessarily. But for our purposes, that's all we need. So I'm just going to toss all those. Goodbye, actual glassware. Oh, goodbye, actual kiln expertise. I am actually going to give this a real stinking door, though. I feel like it deserves at least that much. We'll give it a little bit of a door. I'm sure there's some latching pieces over here that would make this make sense. Gonna keep our circle, if you can call that a circle. Gonna keep our vague roundish shape. There we go. There's the opening with just kind of a increasingly darkness and a little bit of light towards the top. Flame intensity, and I'm just gonna give that kind of a frame. I'm getting distracted on details, but we are kind of near the end of this one. Not gonna go crazy. Again, these are just quick doodles. Again, we had to start stream a little late. I am sorry about that. So I've not had time to do the full-on exercise that I wanted to do and sort of planned. But for quick doodles, these have been kind of fun. We've gotten some interesting characters out of it. I guess the last thing is just to create some... I don't know, would these be forceps? Would these be like grabber claws? What do you call these tools? Other than just the cool pinchers, I guess. Or the hot pinchers, I guess, because they're picking up stuff like this. Not very cool at all. Okay, I'll let myself out. But yeah, we'll just... Oh, come on, I can give him a little more character than that, surely. And at least give, like, a little bit of a handhold. Bit of a... Actually, what I'd really want, sort of one where they kind of come out like this and then it extends outward a little bit, because then you'd have a little more leverage, but I don't think that's going to work for what we got, so we're going to take the artistic liberties. We're going to have the curved in like that. Bring those together. And we'll just do simple hands for the time being. I'm still kind of feeling pointy vibe. We'll stick with that. Same vibe on the other side. There we go. We can remove these layers. We've got ourselves at least like an entry level. We can sort of do like a... I'm not sure what she's got on her that's radioactive. Maybe it's some of the potion bottles, but we'll go ahead and get that going in there too. Cracking up that these have ended up looking like slippers. I can at least give like a little bit of a grip here. Maybe an actually planned grip would be better. Sure, that'll do. Some laces going up there. Yeah, the more details I add, that's going to start getting to look awkward, but that's sort of the gist of it. So there we go. We've got our glass-blowing witch pulling the pumpkin, or maybe the spirit of a pumpkin, out of the kiln. We've got our much rougher, because, again, I didn't do much in the way of warm-ups today. We've got the blacksmith witch over here. I went and made her invisible, didn't I? Oops. Oops. There we go. And then just random doodle over here. But this has been a little bit of fun. Unfortunately, it looks like we have hit... well, we're a minute away from 10 o'clock, but I gotta start wrapping up pretty much soon, so no more time to do anything else. But it has been fun having y'all here. I'll get the VODs posted to YouTube if you want to see the start or anything of that nature. Thank y'all for coming out. It has been a blast. So with that, this has been Siphimir. Thank you for joining SiphStreams, and I will see y'all next time. Or not, no pressure. But if you want to drop by, I'm here Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, this time, every week. See y'all.